In this section, we're going to look at why mental toughness is important, and there are a number of reasons around that. The first is around performance. It can account for as much as a 25% variation in the performance between two different individuals with differing levels of mental toughness, and that's significant. Secondly, around the adoption of positive behaviours. People who are mentally tough tend to exhibit and adopt more positive behaviours in a wide range of different settings. And thirdly, around well-being. By being more mentally strong, we're able to deal with life's stresses and pressures a lot more effectively. This makes us less susceptible to mental health and other issues, and means that we're likely to exhibit a higher standard or higher levels of well-being compared to people that may be perhaps more mentally sensitive. It's also important in terms of aspirations. People who are mentally strong like to challenge themselves, set higher standards for themselves, and have higher aspirations about what it is they'd like to achieve in their chosen fields. It's also important around employability. One of the areas of mental toughness is around confidence. So by becoming more confident and coming across as more confident and being able to stick at tasks as well, we're able to achieve greater things. This increases our employability, and in today's world, this is vitally important. Thirdly, around our openness to change. Change is the only constant, and in many ways we're experiencing more change and a greater pace of change than any time in human evolution. Our ability to handle this change is really key. As is the ability to transition. Life is about change and constant endings and new beginnings. People who are able to go through that transitions curve much more quickly, flatten out the curve and the dip in productivity, will find themselves not only more employable, but also able to deal with those at a mental health and a physical level a lot better. So being able to deal with transition by developing our mental toughness, again, is significantly important. And in terms of completion and dropout rates, by being more mentally strong, we're able to set out and stick at whatever it is that might be, particular courses. It has a high degree of relevance in the educational setting, whether that's with university students or at the younger ones doing A-levels and GCSEs. People who are more mentally strong are more likely to stick at their tasks and see through courses and so on. Social mobility is really key as well. By having mental toughness, we're able to be much more socially mobile, allowing us to take advantage of opportunities wherever they may present themselves and we might choose to go. And lastly, around motivation. Mentally strong people tend to be much more intrinsically motivated. That's a much more powerful motivation method than looking for external motivational factors. So again, by developing our resilience and our mental toughness, we can hopefully improve our motivation. In terms of performance, people who are mentally strong perform better in targeted settings, whether that's such things as management buyouts, exams and tests and so on. They tend to produce better reports and work as well because they have higher standards and they're able to stick at tasks. That's one of the reasons for that. And they will achieve more. They'll tend to cover more subjects and things, set goals for themselves, which allows them to achieve more than other people. And they will work harder to achieve those goals. They're also competitive, not only competitive perhaps against other people, but also with themselves. It comes back to wanting more for themselves, setting those standards, setting goals that they can go out and try and attain as well. And they tend to have a better work-life balance, able to juggle the demands of both, compartmentalise where necessary, and apply the various tools and techniques that come with developing mental toughness in those two settings that will allow them to have that balance. Secondly, around behaviours. People who are mentally strong tend to adopt the following kinds of behaviours. They have a more positive can-do attitude. They'll look for solutions rather than being more problems focused, and this can lead them on to being able to achieve a lot more. And as we talked about earlier on, they're more likely to respond positively to change. They'll look at what might be good as a result of a particular change and focus on that rather than worrying about what they might lose or what they might be concerned with a particular change. They'll look for the positive things in the future and aim and work towards those. And they're more likely to be engaging in terms of volunteering for activities, whether that's at work, taking on new assignments, new responsibilities and so on, or whether that's also volunteering outside of work as well. But they're very engaged, very switched on and looking to expand. And they're likely to adopt more responsibility as well as a result of that. They'll seek out more, want to stretch themselves and develop themselves. They're also likely to be better disciplined. disciplined at sticking to their courses, sticking to their assignments, disciplined in getting their work done on time and to the right required standard. And lastly, around well-being. People who are mentally strong tend to deal with stress and pressure an awful lot better because we've developed that mental toughness and they're able to handle those particular things. And as a result, they'll sleep better, which is really important. Being able to compartmentalise, reduce our stress before we go to bed, turn off that negative self-talk, it has a big impact on our ability to sleep. And sleep has been proven to have a huge effect on our mental and physical well-being. So being able to get a good quality night's sleep is really important. As a result of all these things together, they're less likely to develop mental health issues as well. We're seeing mental health issues rise at an exponential rate. And a lot of that hopefully can be offset by developing and improving people's resilience to common stresses, pressures and challenge. They're also able to relax even after the most challenging time, finding it much easier to switch off and find recreational activities that allow them to turn their brain and attention onto different, less stressful things. Interestingly as well, they will tend to report less bullying behaviour, which goes alongside with the fact that they're less likely to consciously adopt bullying behaviour. If they feel that they are being bullied, they're more likely to have the assertiveness to be able to deal with that in a constructive way. And by being mentally strong as well, they don't feel the need to adopt bullying kind of micromanagement tactics with other people as well. So that can be quite significant. In terms of aspirations and employability, which is also important, they are more ambitious, they do want more for themselves, and they do set higher standards for themselves, and they can also set higher standards and expect higher standards from other people as well. They'll come across as a lot more confident, which gives them the edge in terms of in a workplace setting and certainly in interviews. They'll find interviews and other presentations less intimidating, and this will allow them to perform much higher, to a more higher standard. And again, as we talked about, they'll tend to adopt a more competitive approach to themselves and the work they want to achieve and the kind of standards that they want to set. They'll also deal better with redundancy, and as a result, they're more likely to be able to get a job. Dealing with transitions is another area where having higher degrees of mental toughness can really help. New settings such as schools, jobs, employers, people find adapting to those new settings much more easier when they have a higher degree of mental toughness. It allows them to transition onto new programs and new courses much more effectively. And again, the same with dealing with new managers, tutors and colleagues and so on. This also makes them able to deal with and often seek out new experiences and new opportunities, and they don't find those threatening. They'll see the challenge in those and the fun in those as opposed to seeing them as potential threats. This means that when it comes to change programs, takeovers, mergers, organisational restructuring, by being more mentally strong, people are able to deal with those much more effectively and contribute to a higher level. And in terms of execution as well, they'll have more stickability. They're able to complete their programs, chunk down projects into bite-sized pieces and see and celebrate the successes, the smaller successes as they go along to achieving those bigger goals. Which means they'll tend to be better dealing at project management issues as well and for the lifespan of a project. And they'll take setbacks in their stride, seeing any short-term failures as an opportunity for learning rather than something that's bad about themselves. This allows them to adapt, to change, and ultimately to be more successful. And again, by responding to failure by saying that I can do better and looking for the opportunities to learn in that. So in summary, mental toughness, we're able to assess the capacity to deal with stressful situations. It allows us to understand why one person succeeds and another person might be struggling. And it's useful in terms of helping for organisations and individuals perform under pressure and respond much more positively to challenge. It allows us to make better decisions about people and what they can do as well.